What's up, vapors? Thanks for checking out Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Reverie RDA. Alright guys, so the random question of the day is, how many chickens would it take to kill an elephant? I want to hear from you guys right down there in the comments box below. We've already done the duck-sized horse and horse-sized duck debate, and this is definitely going to be a hot topic here. I'm going to say probably in the area of about 10,000 or so. I really have no idea how a chicken can even possibly kill an elephant in the first place, but that should be decided on Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator. If you know what I'm talking about, then 5 cool points to you. But that's what I'm going to go with. I want to hear from you guys right down there in the comments box below. So today we're taking a look at the Reverie RDA by my buddy Stan, aka Tenacious TX Vapes, and of course Timesvape, with a big shout out and thank you going to Stan and Timesvape for sending this one my way for the purpose of making this video. I first saw this design back in May when Stan and I went to Vapor Expo UK. He had one of the prototypes with him and I snuck a couple of puffs, and I gotta say I fell in love right then and there. I have 2 Reverie RDAs now, one in black and one in purple, as you can see here, and these are really unique RDAs. It's a single coil vertical, which is really just kind of different from what I'm used to, and I gotta say the execution on this one is fantastic. So taking a look at lucidrda.com, this device comes in 6 different color options for you to choose from. You have black, stainless, blue, red, purple, and green, and of course they have matching Dreamers on sale as well right there if you want to pick one of those up as well. And this one's going to cost you $29, which I think is an absolute steal. I would recommend, if you have any interest in the vertical or single coil world, then definitely give the Reverie RDA a look. If you want to pick one up for yourself, I'll leave a link right down there in the description below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive down to the close-up view and take a better look at this thing. Alright guys, so as you can see, we've got the Reverie in its original box, so let's quickly take a look around the packaging and then we'll talk about what's inside. So first and foremost, lovely bit of design here on the box. Okay, so truth be told, I did have a hand in making this design and this logo here. Stan came up with the original concept. We went back and forth a few times and this is what we came up with. So what do you guys think? Leave your comments right down there in the box below. But anyways, we have the standard nicotine warning there and, you know, pretty much your standard stuff on the box. Timesvape logo on this side. We have a picture of the device right there and some social media links. We have designed by Stan, TenaciousTXVapes.com, and B Tenacious right there. On the back we have your standard stuff, some specs, what's in the box, your scratch and check right there at the bottom, and the UPC with your color indication all there. So let's go ahead and take off the lid. Okay, first things first, we get a little bit of a user manual here, and yeah, it is fold out, so tiny printing, no graphics. Well, I guess if you count that as a graphic. I'm still going to take 5 points off Stan. Then again, he probably had no input on that whatsoever. We have a little cleaning cloth, which I think is kind of neat. They give you a little bit of a cloth if you over drip or something like that. That's kind of nice. We also have an extra drip tip, a nice little stubby 810 drip tip, as you can see there. Pretty basic black Delrin, it looks like. Then, of course, the Reverie itself, which we'll be taking a look at in just a second. And your obligatory baggy O parts. We have a copper standard pin, not gold-plated at all, which, that's a little bit disappointing. And, of course, a full set of O-rings and a set of grub screws. So you have a little set of grub screws. Those look like flathead? Yeah, those are flathead grub screws and a little blue screwdriver for good measure. Underneath here, we have a little surprise for you guys. We have these little ceramic rods. Now, I guess these are not Stan's idea, or were not Stan's idea, but it comes with a 2.5mm and a 3mm ceramic rod, so you can actually place these inside your coil as you're heating them up if you wanted to, but I don't know. For me personally, not a huge fan. I would just rather use a screwdriver or my bit or whatever I wrapped around, but hey, maybe that's just me. Alright guys, let's talk about the specs. First of all, it's 24mm in diameter. It has a very unique styling, simple build deck, squonkable vertical coil, many airflow options, reduced inner chamber for maximum flavor, removable juice well for easy wicking, locking airflow alignment feature, 810 drip tip compatible, and it comes with a random color resin tip, including teal, red, or purple. Alright guys, let's talk about this Reverie in a little bit more detail, starting off with the drip tip up top here. It's basically like your standard 810 tip, just a little bit smaller, a little bit narrower, and a little bit skinnier. So there you go, you can see all around there. A little bit shorter, as you can see right there. Just for comparison's sake, let's bring in this dead rabbit tip. There we go. And of course the bore is identical. Let's just check out this dead rabbit tip on here. It fits no problem. However, since it's so wide, it leaves a little bit of a gap around this top here because of that angle on the top cap. So, if you're going to do a drip tip on this thing, I would just stick with what you get in the box. They work just fine. There we go. On the top cap section, we have the O-ring right around the inside lip there. Holds those drip tips in no problem. And the infamous pulley section around the top, yeah. So that deep little ridge on the inside there. Kind of an interesting design aspect. I really don't have any issues with it. Just kind of there for show, I suppose. We have the airflow control section on the outside here, which has that kind of Mutation X sort of look to it. And of course, we can see how it affects the airflow section. You can kind of aim it up or down depending on how much airflow you want. Usually I keep it wide open with 2 rows open, as you can see there. And of course that's matched on the opposite side. So let's just go ahead and take this section off. I can show you the inside, which is of course domed for maximum flavor. And with that we have the top cap section without the airflow control. As you can see, just 2 rows of holes right there, with the single O-ring at the top, which I have had a major problem with, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. We have the Reverie markings towards the bottom of the barrel section there. And let's just take a look at the bottom real quick. So you can see the Reverie logo, designed by Stan, and your warnings. And of course I have my squonk pin installed. Of course the standard pin is in the box. So I'm a little bit embarrassed about my cotton here. It's definitely time to change, but as you can see, this is how I built it. You have a nice little bit of cotton at the bottom and a little tuft up at the top here, kind of laying down over the top of the positive post. Towards the back section here, we have the cap alignment tab and the 2 O-rings with a little bit of a kind of design slash grip towards the bottom, which I actually do like a lot because this deck actually comes out, which I'll show you in just a second here. But just overall, I wanted to give you guys an idea of how I built this thing. So as you can see, we've got this thing all nice and cleaned up. We've got the squonk pin right down the middle there. We've got the positive post separated by the insulator and the negative post there, positioned high-low, so you have a perfect vertical coil positioning. However, I have seen this thing with horizontal coils and dual coils and all sorts of stuff, so you can still get creative with it. We have a nice deep juice well, and actually, speaking of juice well, you can actually just kind of spin this thing off, and that way you can get up underneath your coil when it comes time to wick it, and it makes wicking a little bit easier. So that is definitely a nice feature there, and it's kind of interesting. It's a very unique feature, let me tell you that. We have an O-ring at the bottom so that doesn't leak, and let's just screw that back on. And the threads are absolutely gorgeous on this thing. Really no issues whatsoever there. As you can see, these screw heads here, of course, flat head, and those go in really nice and deep. No problem with them stripping or anything like that. Really good screws. Very impressed with the screws on this thing. So yeah, that's pretty much the Reverie in a nutshell. So let's go back to the main screen, have a quick vape on this thing, and we'll talk about it some more. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the close-up section of this video. Now let's talk about my personal thoughts about this device, some pros, some cons, and whether or not it's worth purchasing. Starting off with the pros, my first pro is that it's a very unique design. This one is a single vertical coil RDA, and I gotta say, before Stan came around on the designing scene, I was about ready to give up on vertical coils altogether because they just didn't really work for me. There weren't really that many vertical coil RDAs out there on the market, and none of them were really that good in the first place. So Stan just decided to change up the game. He wanted to introduce us to just a different way of looking at the vertical coil and how it can be executed, and I gotta say, it was done really, really well with this Reverie. My second pro for this one is that it's whisper quiet. Now, too many RDAs out there on the market have this sort of vicious, turbulent whistle and howl to them while you're vaping on them. I could hold this thing right next to the microphone and it would barely make any sound, which is awesome because I love just walking around and taking a couple puffs without raising suspicion everywhere I go. My third pro today is the flavor. The flavor that I get with this device here is fantastic, especially with my fruity flavors that I love so much. I absolutely love the grape and apple and kiwi flavors from this device here because a lot of times you get those like kind of muted, kind of lower notes with those sort of flavors. With this one here, it just brightens them up and makes them sparkle. And my fourth and final pro for this device is that, in my opinion, it's the best single vertical coil RDA out there on the market. I mean, there's really just no competition when it comes to that kind of category. It's a very niche market, but at the end of the day, I really feel like this one stands on top, at least for me personally. Alright guys, so moving on to the cons, my first con is that I personally find this one a little bit difficult to wick. Now, as I showed you in the close-ups, you can take that deck section out and pull your cotton down from the top of your coil and just get up underneath it, which definitely helps out a lot. But when it comes time to replace that deck section and spread out your cotton at the bottom, I find that it's not as efficient as what I'm used to, and I find that my coil goes really dry really quickly, so maybe it's something I'm doing wrong, I'm really not quite sure, but every time I go to wick this thing, I struggle. My second con for this one is having the airflow control on the outside of the barrel section. Personally, I don't think it's the most aesthetic choice. It also collects a little bit of e-liquid and can get a little bit gunky up around this seam right here, so I just don't really think that was the best choice for me personally. I would have went with something with a sleek barrel section and having the airflow control, just something you can turn from the top cap section there, but hey, maybe that's just me. My third con today is the O-rings. The first Reverie that I got in had such tight O-rings I could barely even move the airflow control, let alone take it off. With this purple aluminum version here, it has such loose O-rings that it doesn't even come close to being able to pass my O-ring test. So yeah, way too loose of a tolerance there. I really just wish Timesvape could nail down the right size O-ring for this thing. And my fourth and final con for this device is the top cap alignment. Now, there is a tab right behind the positive post that aligns with a notch cut in the barrel section where it's supposed to just kind of drop down into place, aligning your airflow perfectly with your coil and making it easier to get your RDA off your device. Now, with that, the tolerance on it is so tight that I really struggle every single time I go to put my top cap on, and usually I just leave my cap on because I just don't want to deal with it. And when I do take the cap off, I tend to have to look underneath and check where the placement is and basically just perfectly align it, or just kind of spin the cap until it falls down into place. So at the end of the day, is this device worth purchasing? Would I go out of my way to pick one of these up if I didn't get this one in for a review? I'm going to say yes to this one just for sheer curiosity's sake. Now, with that, I am the type that loves tinkering around with different coil builds and different coil positions and stuff like that. So something like this here with a single vertical coil, I don't have any other RDAs that are like this, so I'm going to say yes to this, especially considering the price point. So if you are at all interested in either vertical coils or single coil build decks, then make sure you check out the Reverie RDA. Of course, link is right down there in the description. But that about does it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. Leave your comments down in the box below. Also, check out the advocacy and my social media links right down there in the description. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and as always, vape on.